Hi everybody, welcome to the QB School. I'm JT O'Sullivan. Today's Q&A, we got a great one. We're going to talk about the nuance, the details of man coverages. We're also going to go into a quarterback's kind of pre-snap checklist. Be all sorts of great information. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Welcome to the QB School. First question, Walt, great video JT. Can you go over the different variations of man coverages as well? What is the difference between 0, 1, and 2 man? So I pulled this question from the what are the differences between zone coverages. So this is a kind of a nice bookend to that series and talk about what the different variations of man coverage are. So for me, again, to keep it both simplistic and then go into the nuance and details, I'll start with kind of the overarching macro view. Again, we're going to talk about the shell, the back end, what the safeties are doing. So is the middle field open, meaning that there's 2 safeties and no one in the middle of the field, or is the middle field closed, meaning 1 safety in the middle of the field? So in man coverages, you can play both. Middle field open, which is 2 man, we'll talk about, or 0, and then middle field closed, which is basically cover 1 and all the different variations and iterations that you can play in that. But to just understand it at that kind of simplistic level is you can play both man coverages, many types of man coverages with both middle field open and middle of field closed. So oftentimes in reads, you'll have different things for middle field closed, different things for middle field open, but it's hard to go middle field open, man one side, zone one side, middle field closed, zone one side, man one side. Oftentimes the reads for the quarterbacks, at least because we're talking quarterback school here, is middle field closed, we want to go over here, middle field open, we want to go over here. It gets a little bit more complicated when you go into closed, open, man, zone reads. And you can certainly do that, and they certainly do that all the time at the NFL. But to understand how to play quarterback, I think it's easier to understand. We're still looking at the shell. It doesn't matter. This is my kind of overarching thing is all defenses are man coverage at some point. Even though it's zone, once guys run into your zone, it's playing man. A man is guarding a man, or a person is guarding a person. You know, don't get it twisted that, oh, it's man coverage, what are we going to do? Yes, there are different ways to attack it, and we'll talk about the nuance and the details of that. But to just understand it is defense is defense. They're trying to stop us, how they classify it, man, zone. Even in zone, once you run into that zone area, they're playing man covers. They're matching up on you. So we'll talk about the different variations of man right here. And basically to start with it, I want to always start with cover 1. So for me, cover 1 basically emphasizes 1 high. So there's going to be 1 player in the middle of the field. And really it doesn't matter who it is. It's a safety, usually. Almost always a safety. So we're going to have a safety in the middle of the field. Now this diagram shows the free safety, but it could just as easily be the strong safety. And this is when we get into the nuance and details of it. But let's just understand cover 1. One player in the middle of the field, 1 safety back, 1 guy back. This person has to cover the whole width of the field. So if we throw a go route over here, they need to come over and make a play on this. If they throw a go route to the other side, you need to make a play on this. And so for me playing quarterback, anytime you face a cover 1 defense, you always have to be aware of how to manipulate that middle field player. Now, man coverage is a little bit different when you talk about you can stare down routes, especially underneath routes, because those people aren't looking at you, they're looking at their receivers. But if you're trying to throw a seam or a deep ball or a post, anything towards the middle of the field, you have to look this player off and control them with your eyes playing quarterback. Now, all the variations of cover 1. This is straight up, I wasn't going to say here, you don't see this very often. I would say most times the way that I understand cover 1 is that when we talk about the most simple kind is called man free. I'm used to calling it man free. And what I mean by that is, excuse me, man free. So what I mean by that is they'll often bring 5. Normally the strong safety isn't just sitting out here not guarding anyone. So when I mean bring 5, and that usually means one of the linebackers is going to come. So when this linebacker vacates, this strong safety now takes that coverage responsibility. And that's man free, meaning everybody's manned up. We're manned up across the board, and there's a free safety in the middle of the field. Man free is kind of the base call. When you get into this where you're only bringing 4, so there's only 4 guys coming, or if you're in an odd front, 4 guys, 1 linebacker, 3 guys and 1 linebacker. Either way, you've got 7 guys in coverage here. When there's a free player like this, when it's the strong safety, the best way to understand it, most oftentimes, it's called the robber. So this person will play the middle of the field and rob this area. So really, it's almost like an inverted 2-man. What I mean by that is you have the free deep and the strong safety underneath with man coverage underneath. That's usually called robber. And then if these are inverted, meaning the strong safety is now back and the free safety comes down, because based on, matchups, tendencies from what the other team is doing, this is often called lurk. So with the free safeties, the middle field player, he is lurking in the middle of the field. So robber, strong safety, free safety down, lurk. The other variation is to have the strong safety covering someone, usually the tight end, and leave a linebacker based on what this pass set is back here. If they're all both on the same side, this guy's not here. It doesn't really matter which linebacker is free. If a linebacker is free, I've often heard it called thief. So the linebacker, whatever linebacker is not covering man-to-man, so say the strong safety has this tight end right here, and this linebacker right here is free. So he would be the thief. So it would be one thief, one robber, one lurk is a way to kind of play different variations of man coverage. So all these unique ones, it's not just cover one. You're not going to come out and play recess and call cover one. These are often called, 11. And often the other thing about it is you'll hear me say 11 a lot. 11 just means that they're in sub personnel. Double digits means that this linebacker would be out and this would be a nickel oftentimes. Sorry, nickel. So again, just little variations about how to better understand it. Cover one, you're just not, unless you're playing high school football or unless you're, playing Madden, you're not often going to run just straight up cover one. It's usually going to be robber, lurk, thief, and then oftentimes the other variation is you can blitz one of these linebackers in man free. So you hit one of these, you bring one of these linebackers, so you bring the will. So now the free safety's down here, strong safety's coming back, man coverage, and they usually call these animal or dogs. You hear different kind of dog, strong dog, weak dog, Sam dog, will dog, whatever dog, some variation of dog will tell these which linebacker to blitz. So they often want to bring 5 and then play man behind it. This is how I usually think about cover one. That's man free, 11 dog, and then you get into, again, the variations. If you want to better understanding to cover one variations, it's free safety down in the middle, lurk. Strong safety down in the middle, robber. Linebacker free in the middle, thief. And so why you would want to do that is because of what their tendencies are. Are they tendency to have low crossers on offense? Well, then you probably want a thief low. Are they bringing, tight end from strong side to the weak side of the run formation, or are they bringing wide receivers across? Then we might want a robber, depending on what the formation dictates. So oftentimes, again, it's not just being called in the huddle. It's based on the formation, what you're going to get with the rotation. And then from playing quarterback, you basically have to have your eyes on the shell. You want to watch this shell and understand the invert. Now, if you come up and you see 2 corners over, normally a corner would be over here, right? An easy indicator is to see the corner over here locked up, bump, but you don't know if it's going to be robber or lurk. Not that it really matters, but it could if you're trying to get a tight end here. And this is just a diagram. But if you were playing this defense with this kind of edge protection, you'd probably just run it over here. But if you wanted to come out and throw it, get a little corner, get a little out, get anything you want over here to the side. You'd also probably get a rub over here, with these double bump, as rubs become harder and harder to run in the league with them being called. But again, the variations, how you want to understand it. Who is the middle field player? Is it the free safety most often? Yes. Okay, what are they doing underneath? Are they bringing 5? Are they bringing 4? If they're only bringing 4, is there a lurker? Is there a robber? Is there a thief? Who's the free player, and where can he pick me off if I'm not aware of where he's at? And then just man coverage on the outside. Are they off or are they press? Where's your matchups? So those are the little variations of cover one. Again, you want to look. Someone's going to be in the middle of the field. That's why it's called cover one guy deep. Then are they bringing 4? Are they bringing 5? If they're bringing 5, everyone's just man free, straight across the board. If they're only bringing 4, you have to be aware of a lurker, a robber, a thief. Someone's free in the middle of the field. So they're either going to try to jack your crossers or they're going to try to hide and pick off a crosser. So you have to be aware if you're trying to attack that type of defense, because oftentimes you get man coverage, you're going to want to call runaways or things that are hard for guys to run with guys for a long period of time. So think overs or drags or crosses or drive routes, anything where you're coming across. Well, if you come across and there's a free player, that guy's probably going to get hit pretty hard if he's not aware of where that free player is. So again, that's the variation of cover one. Okay, now let's talk two-man. So again, two-man, cover 2. What does that mean? We should be locked in here now. 2 guys deep. Cover 2, 2 guys deep. They're playing zone back here. Same as cover 2. They're same responsibilities. Now underneath, we got man. So now we can't bring 5. We have to play 5 on 5 underneath 5 eligible receivers. So oftentimes, again, this is a little simplistic of a drawing. You probably wouldn't play 2-man very often to this formation with 3 linebackers on the field. But again, it doesn't matter who these guys are. Nickel, dime, DB type guys, linebackers. It's 5. It's man underneath, 5-man underneath, 2 deep zone over the top. And there's all sorts of other little nuanced details of 2-man we'll talk about here. But if you just want to understand the basics, it's 2 deep, playing half field. Okay, and then 5 under man. Everybody's manned up. Now the nuance and detail, which I didn't talk about in cover 1, which was my mistake. Cover 1, when you play it man coverage underneath these guys, they're going to be outside leverage. Why? Because there's a middle field player, free safety, usually in the middle of the field. So you want to funnel him to the middle of the field. Well, in cover 2, 2-man, you're going to want to play inside leverage. So the corner, DB type guys, linebackers are going to play inside out here because their help is over the top on the outside. So you're not going to be able to come up and just run a slant in 2-man because the guy's sitting inside leverage. Versus middle field closed man, cover 1, you definitely want to come up and run slants. But 2-man, the guys are going to be sitting inside. So you want to think about all sorts of out routes, crossing routes. Anything to the out corner is a great play versus 2-man because you got this inside leverage with this space out here on still the same spot in the holes, still same spot down the middle of the field. But again, how you get there, different variations because they're inside man coverage, usually hard set. Now, they also know that they're going to be giving up the out, so they're going to be trailing, coming right underneath these guys' hips, trying to get underneath these out routes or option routes. So they have to know that. So the great way to get to the middle of the field is to come up and run a little like stud or post, get this thing into the middle or pump, anything where you're going to come up, tease their leverage. They know exactly where they're trying to give up. They're running with the out, come out, give them a little move, come to the post, give them a little move, stutter, and hit them up the seam. Again, we're putting a 2-on-1 on this free safety. So really the holes to take advantage of, again, middle field and these pockets are hole shots on the outside, but then underneath 2-man, really hard to deal with because you got hard inside leverage. If this guy was outside here, if he wasn't here, he would be right at the line of scrimmage inside. So what do? It's really hard to do. So you can get a little creative by motion. So now you motion. Now this guy can't sit hard inside. He usually has to come back over the top. Now you created a little space. You can come up, run option routes, do whatever you want to do. But again, it's not just about lining up in a formation. You have to understand in 2-man, they're going to be hard inside leverage. Versus middle field closed, man, they're going to usually be head up or outside leverage because their help is in the middle of the field. Think about if you're playing DB, where's your help at? Cover 2-man, it's over the top. So you want to set inside, not let him get into this hole real quick. Again, it's a hell of a lot harder throw to this outside hole shot than it is to the middle of the field hole. So those are the little details, nuanced things about 2-man. The other thing about 2-man, and really any man coverage, but 2-man especially because you usually play it in 3rd and long situations, is nobody has a quarterback. So you'll see quarterback draw, you'll see scrambles all the time. Really hard to play 2-man without some sort of spy. Usually spy is a term for a defensive lineman or linebacker to have the quarterback on any sort of run action where they check, it's not there and they're going to take off pretty quickly. There's usually a spy defender to take away those runs, especially in man coverage because all the DBs are now looking at the guys that they're covering. No one's paying attention to the quarterback. You see those huge quarterback scrambles on 3rd and long. So those are the little variations. So far, middle field closed, man, cover 1, all the variations, robber, lurk, thief, dog, and then 2-man, just usually straight up 22-man, 2-man, guys set inside. They're going to try to get you to throw outside. They're going to be leaning on out routes, trying to get you, anticipate those out routes because they have inside leverage. Middle field closed, man, you're going to get outside leverage by the underneath man defenders, trying to funnel you to that middle field player. And then finally, talk about cover 0. Okay, cover 0 is both a nightmare and awesome from a quarterback perspective. What I mean by that is there's nobody back here. Nobody back here. All these guys usually used to call it birds on a fence. They'll keep coming down inside of right about 8 yards. You're not going to play cover 0 from 15 yards like a punt coverage. You're going to be down here in about 8 yards, strong safety down. Everybody's tight. Feels like they're going to try to get you with a punt block. And you're going to come back and we're going to block it up and take shots down the field if we have the capacity to do that. But really, cover 0, just what it says, nobody in the middle of the field. Okay, these guys are coming down. It's not a great drawing. These guys usually free safeties down right around 8 yards, creeping down, creeping down. They have to cover all these little flats, hots, bubbles, anything underneath here. So it really puts the DBs in a bind. You're basically gambling. They're saying that they're going to bring more guys than you have blocking, and they're going to get home before you can make a big play down the field. Now, just what cover 0 implies, the places to take a shot are right to the post. 0, down the field, anything to the middle of the field and over the top. Or another thing that likes to get is these inside seams that turn into, you get a lot more space to throw go route. If you got bump coverage, come up here, throw a little fade or a go route to the outside, as opposed to running a go from out here where the window is only like 5 or 10 yards. You run it from inside here where there's this guy's coming down. He's right on 8 yards. He's sitting on the post. You come up, lean on him, and then get out there. You got all this space. But you have to have the capacity to kind of bail, protect up, make sure you don't have a free runner through the A or the B gaps, and have kind of the guy who has to be the free player, be the person who has to run the farthest. Now, I'm not going to get into the pass pro element of it, but again, oftentimes most teams will have cover 0 checks to get max protection. So what you do is take all these guys, slide to the left, and we would come right off this last man for the this way, and we bail this way to kind of come back and throw a big shot over the top. Now, again, playing quarterback, you have to have a plan. What are you going to do versus cover 0? Where are your hots? Is it a break off, little stick route? Is he going to peek on his way? We got a side adjust, backside slant. We got a hitch route somewhere quick. What are we going to do versus cover 0? For me, I always wanted to have a plan. What's my 0 plan every single play? I want to have a throw, have an idea, and then I don't want to see ghosts. Now, if you came up and there was someone playing 15 and 12 yards deep, I'm not thinking cover 0 at all. Now, but if we come down and they're right here, and I feel like everybody's squeezing up on me, and we got guys creeping right here and bicycle stances, they look like they're sprinters, they're coming after us. Now I need to have a 0 plan. Either your offense allows you to check, make an audible into something where you big pass protect to take a shot, or you'd have them built in already. So you could dial up anything you want, but you got to get the ball out of your hand because you know they're coming after you. So that's really the difference. 0 is heat, pressure. They're bringing everybody, casino, blitz, betting the house that they're going to get to the quarterback before the quarterback can make a play. You often see 0 down in the tight red zone because now the DBs have a lot less to cover. You watch 2-point conversions, you'll often get hit with either coverage where they're dropping 8, dropping 7, zone coverage, kind of quarters, or they'll hit you with 0 all the time. So you got to have a 0 plan in the red zone. But for me, just to feel comfortable playing every play, I used to like to have a 0 plan versus every single play. Whether we talked about it or not, know where to get the ball out of your hand quickly to protect yourself, move the ball, protect the ball, make good decisions. So you got to have a 0 plan. And it's a little bit, obviously it's one of those things. That's why I mean it's a nightmare, but it's a great opportunity too. You see huge plays when teams are playing against 0 teams because they're going to take shots and DBs have to be able to tackle in space. And if you get the ball out of your hand with a clean plan, nice execution, you got a chance for huge plays. If you make one guy miss, touchdowns all over the place. So that's really, let's go over one more time as just kind of a recap for different variations of man coverage. So 0, nobody in the middle of the field, just what it says. 0 in the back shell. Cover 1, 1 player deep, all sorts of different variations. Man free, they're bringing 5, everyone else is manned up. 11 or 1 robber, 1 lurk is the free safety, 1 robber is the strong safety, 1 thief is the linebacker is the free player. So who's the free player if they're only bringing 4? Now, and also middle field closed, man, you're going to think outside leverage by the man players underneath. They're trying to funnel to that middle field player. Cover 2 man, you're going to think because there's 2 shell players, 2 deep, just what it says, 2 man playing half field in the back end, we're going to now be sitting inside leverage because they want to funnel people out to those outside leverages. So you're thinking out routes, you're thinking crossers, you're thinking motion, you're thinking creative option routes to get those guys open and give them opportunities to kind of use leverage, lean on people, be quick and kind of explosive in how they separate space with an inside leverage player on defense. So great question. Hopefully it made sense. Let me know if you have other questions. I appreciate it. Next question. All right, Mattis. Hey JT, I recently started playing football. I live in the Netherlands, so coaching and stuff isn't as efficient as I imagine it would be in the US. Your channel has helped me a bunch. Appreciate it. I have one question though. When I run my routes as a receiver, I'm not sure how exact I should stick to what I was told to do. For example, when I'm told to run a 5-yard route, can I, depending on the situation, deviate slightly from the call? as in start running at an angle to square up the defender, cut a little later because the defender hasn't opened his hips yet, or cut up slightly at a different angle to run into more open space. Now, this is a great question, and so I'm not going to be able to give you the perfect answer, but what I will tell you is what I like. I like people, or wide receivers especially, who know the details and nuance of exactly what they're supposed to do. So if they're supposed to be at 10 yards, they know that they have to get to 10 yards. Now, playing football is not the same as drawing plays on a whiteboard or a telestrator. You got to go out there and play and create space and be open. And I'd rather play with a bunch of guys who didn't know the details and nuance, but knew that they could get open at all times and were uncoverable, than guys who knew, oh, I have to get to 5 yards. I must get to 5, as opposed to being wide open at 6 or wide open at 7 or wide open at 4. I want the person that's wide open. But am I the same as every other coach? No, I would want to know exactly what the coach wants. Does the coach, most coaches would want me, I think, would want you to prove that you know exactly what the depths are, that you can get the depths in practice and all the time. But then they want football players, people who can go out there and make plays and get open. And that's what I always loved about wide receivers. My favorite wide receivers were the dudes that got open all the time. I could count on them. There was no one who could lock them down one-on-one. Go out, get open. If it's a 5-yard out route, if you run it at 4 and you're standing wide open, I'm going to get it to you. I'm going to trust that you're going to get open. And that's where you start hearing the trust. Oh, the trust with the relationship, all the off-season work, that comes from that type of thing. You being able to know that this guy has a wiggle, has an understanding of body control, explosiveness, kind of leverage, and be able to create that space to get open to throw it. It's a lot easier to throw to wide open guys than it is to tight window throws. So hopefully that makes sense. What I would do, honestly, if I were you, is ask your coach, hey, can I have the flexibility, if I prove that I understand what I'm being asked to do, to go out there and get open if I have to be Ryan Ken. What are the intricacies of play calling? When to call certain plays, setting up future plays, and what not? You always hear on TV, so coach is a bad play caller, or this person is a great one. What would be the main difference between the two? This is a great question, Ryan. I think the easiest way to answer it, there is no easy way to answer it. It's subjective to a certain extent, besides for the results of winning, losing, moving the ball, all those things. But I think just a kind of overarching bird's eye view, what's the best, what's the best play caller? Are people who scheme people open. What I mean by that is anybody can call a go route, and your wide receiver can go up and moss someone and make a great play call. Well, that's not a great play call. That's just a great player. Great play callers consistently scheme people open. So you'll hear Kyle Shanahan referred to as a great play caller because especially in the run game, he's scheming holes open. He's scheming leverage. He's scheming matchups. So it's all of those things, everything that you talk about, situations, setting things up, formation identification, seeing how a defense will line up, and then being able to kind of motion shift to create the matchups that you want in the run game or in the pass game. So for me, it's about what play callers consistently scheme people up. It doesn't matter who's playing receiver. It doesn't matter who's playing quarterback. You think of Lincoln Riley, someone who's able to insert anybody into that quarterback position and they roll. Now, granted, they're pretty great at every position, but again, it's that type of scheme openness that I think has guys like Sean McVay, Shanahan, different guys that were able to do it for a long time, where you're scheming people open. It's not just like, oh, your guy just ran by our guy. You're like, yeah, that's great if you got the fastest guy in the field, but what if that guy's hurt? Can you also scheme people open with different variations to do crazy routes, things you've never seen before, motions, formation, new plays, all those type of things? I think that's how reputations are built on people who are great play callers. Do they scheme people open? It's not just about the players that they have. So hopefully that helped. Great question. Okay, last question. Henry Brott. Hey, JT, can you walk through a QB's mental checklist as he comes to the line? Basically elaborate on the pre-snap read, mid-play progressions, etc. Thank you, Henry. Excellent question. So yes, I can. The essence of it is, though, I've already built a document for everyone. You can get it and go over to the qbschool.com, sign up for the e-newsletter, which I'll be bringing to us pretty soon, hopefully, as the channel continues to grow. And there's a document that I'll put up right here that allows us to kind of go through what it's like to watch film as a pro. And really what that means is not only how you watch it, but how you play it. So it goes through the pre-snap reads, and I'm actually going to do a video series on this entire document. Take one of these boxes for every video and talk about the nuance and details of what that looks like. So situational football. What's the situation? When you're watching film, when you're playing quarterback, your checklist, you have to know the situation. What's the down and distance? Where are we at in the field? Where are we at in the game? Where are we at with our matchups? Where are we at with our health? Is everybody healthy? Is everybody in the huddle? Do I know where my matchups are? that type of situational football. Where are we out in the field? We in the red zone? We in the high red zone? We backed up? What are we doing with the situational football? And so that's just one example. I think the checklist right here will make sense. Hopefully people will like the video series. I'm really excited to dive into it. Let me know what you think, other things you want to see. Great question. Thank you so much for watching. All right, that's a wrap. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. It's fun seeing this thing grow, having a blast going back, the engagement of this channel. Let me know if you have other questions. I really appreciate the support. If you haven't already, get over to the Patreon community too for the more in-depth, nuanced stuff. Thank you so much again. Have a great one. See you next time.